Yes, nutrition does play a role in time and range. Even though most of our research has looked at how nutrition influences an A1C, we can use that to estimate what the expected effect might be on time and range. And research shows us over and over again that nutrition interventions, especially when they're guided by a registered dietitian, can improve glycemic outcomes like an A1C by as much as 1 to 2% in 3 to 6 months. So this means if the A1C was converted into a time and range, that would be a time and range improvement of around approximately 20 to 40%. And that's really on par with some of our best diabetes medications. There's always an opportunity to talk about nutrition. Research shows us that people with diabetes who have a high quality eating pattern or generally better nutrition have better glycemic outcomes and better overall health than people with lower quality eating patterns or a less desirable diet. So no matter what time and range looks like, there's always a good reason to talk about nutrition. As for how to look for specific opportunities, I think it's helpful to use the AGP report or to use the glucose data on a patient's phone or their reader. You can start with a high-level assessment of the CGM metrics. So start at the bottom of the time and range bar and work your way up first. First, checking for any hypoglycemia. This is something you'd want to address before anything else, since hypoglycemia is likely more of a medication issue than a nutrition issue. Then you can look to the time and range itself and see how that compares to the target of greater than or equal to 70% of the time with glucose between 70 and 180. And then take a glance at the time above range. From there, I'd skip down to the daily profiles and look specifically at the patterns where glucose is rising above 180. This can really be a clue of where to direct your conversations or your questions around usual meal times and food choices. So those questions might be something like, tell me about when you usually eat or drink in the morning, or tell me a little bit about what you typically eat or drink in the evening. It just kind of depends on where you see the most peaks above 180. And this can really be, something to help prompt a pretty natural conversation. I want to start this one by saying there are many, many strategies and eating patterns that can work. There really is not an ideal plan or strategy that's going to work for everyone. But again, research shows us that people who are choosing the higher quality, nutrient-dense foods really can benefit. This is a strategy that works for almost any eating pattern, including any ethnic or cultural food preferences. So let's talk about what some of those strategies are. These are some strategies that you can work with your patients to try. You can help them find ways to replace the highly processed foods with whole foods. Help them see ways to include more non-starchy vegetables. This might mean aiming for half the plate or their bowl from lower carbohydrate vegetables. Help them minimize added sugar and refined grains. And related to that, yet very important in its own way, is encourage them to replace the sugar-sweetened beverages with water. Another strategy that can really help patients improve their time and range is empower them to use their glucose data daily. Help them to know what their glucose and their time and range targets are, and help them see that the more they follow their glucose around a meal, the more they can learn. People really can start to narrow in on what foods and circumstances are going to keep them in target or push them out of target. At the bottom of your slide, you'll see a web address pointing you to the American Diabetes Association Healthy Living section. Here you can find a lot of valuable information that will help your patients eat well. If the medication regimen is stable, it's pretty easy to see if the nutrition changes are working. Really, all it takes is to follow the time and range bar. Every 5% improvement is considered clinically meaningful. So if someone makes changes and sees their time and range or the percent of time with their glucose 70 to 180, if that's increasing over time, the changes are working. However, it's so very important to understand what changes were made and whether or not those changes align with the evidence-based nutrition recommendations, like adding more non-starchy vegetables or choosing water more often. Glucose monitoring is a great way to understand how food impacts glucose, but sometimes people can inadvertently start to omit high-quality, healthy foods like whole grains or fruits. And if they see foods like bacon or other meats might be keeping glucose lower, that's a difficult decision to make. So determining if changes are working is twofold. It's about ensuring that the nutrition changes are the kind that will benefit glucose and overall health, and it's about following how the time and range is shifting as well. For more information, working with a registered dietitian can be a great way to assess the role that nutrition is playing in your patient's glucose and their health. For more information, please visit the American Diabetes Association's Time and Range website at professional.diabetes.org/time and range.